It's Phil coming back at you with another video. Today, I'm back. I'm excited. I'm pumped up. Hopefully, everyone's doing well, practicing self-care, not letting one thought, one situation, one person take them outside of what they know to be true. Today, I'm back, and I'm going to be sharing the upcoming study groups, different things that are coming up, but also sharing some thoughts that I have on my mind. And then you'll be hearing from people that winning the exam, kicked it directly in the chest and got the job done. But since my last video, 104 people winning the exam, kicked it directly in the chest, got the job done, not let one thought, one situation, one person take them outside of what they know to be true. And a lot of people on this list were doubting themselves, beating themselves up and saying, man, Phil, I'm not getting many of these questions of yours correct, or man, I should reschedule, or man, I'm not sure if I can even do this, or man, there are a lot of tragedies going on in my life and I'm not sure if I should even keep going. But they doubled down, not let anything stop them from where they wanted to go. They just kept stretching and kept going and kept grinding and kept doing the next right thing, and they win in the exam, kicked it directly in the chest and got the job done. And they are as follows: Melina Z, Shema I, Zena J, Morgan B, Latanya G, Marcy W, SW, Shadana S, Chelsea A, Lillian L, Indra K, Self-Love F, Celia A, Kelly K, Kenyetta H, Christina A, Cindy S, Nicole H, Jean E, Deborah D, Janelle M, Dave D, Brianna G, Jazz S, Erica P, Priscilla G A, Chevette R, Allie C, Leah S, Natalie B, H A, Mika F, Jennifer B, Kim J, Lisa V, LaShonda J, Allison P, Amanda R, Deanna T, Julissa A, Letitia L, Lexi C, Brittany C, Tisha HW, Colette A, Shaneely M, Jocelyn G, Yvette L, Christy S, Sarah W, Amina H, Gracie S, Samantha, Sarah S, Nat F, Carlia, Angelica, Ashley M, Kirsten S, Sam S, Christy Z, Justy S, Cartlin P, Stephanie B, Annie M, Sarah D, Aisha H, Joseph B, Jennifer C, Leslie H, Tatum H, Aaron P, Jen T, Esterly V, Kia S, Vivian J, Eleanor F, Fatumata J, Y'all M, Sarah G, Tanzalaya U, Robert A, Bethlehem H, Dagmar C, Princess O, Trinell O, Theo K, Melissa W, Chastity J, Alexi G, Dil Loop Kumar V, Eileen L, Princess R, Tim M, Melissa M, Elizabeth G, Jean M, Maria A, Nicholas S, Tasha V, Brandy M, C. Jones, and Jacqueline D. And I'm so excited, man, because like I said, 104 people winning the exam, repping and rocking the Fill in the Gaps community, winning the exam, kicked it directly in the chest and got the job done. If you've kicked the exam directly in the chest and got the job done and passed the exam as well, and you want me to share your name, send me an email at berda24@gmail.com. And as well as, if you're like, man, Phil, how do I rep and rock with the Fill in the Gaps community as well? How do I get a part of some of these things? Or how do I build myself up to become the best possible version of myself? The easiest way to do that are my Sunday study groups and the next ones that are coming up, because they're on Sundays from 7 p.m. until they kick us out. And they can't really kick us out because I'm the host and I don't really have an end time for those study groups, because they go as long as they need to go. They typically range about 4.5, 5, even sometimes 6 hours long. And the next ones that are coming up are as follows: 11-13, acronym and practice questions. So going over the acronym: safety, feelings, assess, refer, educate, advocate, facilitate, and intervene. Going over the tips that I find most helpful for people to go on the exam, kick directly in the chest and get the job done. The different types of questions that you can see, as well as going through 10 practice questions. And again, a lot of times people come to these sessions and say, man, I'm looking to get all of these questions right, or man, these are probably going to be easy questions, so I'm going to be A-okay. But these questions that I write tend to be more difficult than the ones on the actual exam, because I would rather have you go through a difficult situation outside of the exam than go into the exam and have a difficult time. So do not come into the session expecting to get every single one right, but expect to learn something from every single one of them. And a lot of times people come in and say, I'm not really sure what to expect from this group. So this group, again, is going to be broken up into multiple different pieces. It's going to be going over the acronym. It's going to be going over the tips that I find most helpful. And then we're going to be doing questions at the tail end. So it's not going to be questions the entire time, but just be wary that we will be doing everything that we possibly can to help you go into the exam and destroy it. The next one after that is 1120, DSM-5 adults and the medications, so the personality disorders, the schizophrenia spectrum, the differences between bipolar 1 and bipolar 2 disorders, and then we'll be going over the medications, and it never giving you ways to memorize anything, but be able to recognize and apply them to go into the exam, to kick you directly in the chest to get the job done. The next one after that is 1127, going over the family therapies, Bowen structural and strategic family therapies, as well as group therapy and the different stages of group, and how different things within a group can change the way that you conceptualize the questions, and then going over practice questions related to those. 12.4 is going over practice questions, so they will be different practice questions than the previous practice question sessions that I've done. So that is going to be going over the different types of questions that you can see, tips that I find most helpful for people to go in the exam, kick it directly in the chest to get the job done. The 6-step process that I recommend every single person to utilize as they are breaking down the questions in the exam, and then going through 15 practice questions. But again, do not go into the session expecting to get everything correct, because the way that I construct my questions is to make sure that you understand, as well as are able to conceptualize and have fluidity within the different sets of questions that you can see. The next one after that is 12.11, research program development as well as evaluation. So going over the different steps within research, the different types of research, the different components and characteristics that you can see, the different steps of program development, the different steps of program evaluation, the different types of program evaluation, validity as well as reliability, and going over questions related to those. And the next one after that is 12.18, acronym and practice questions. So it is going to be the same information as the 11.13, which is different practice questions in that. So it's going to be going over the acronym, the different types of questions that you can see, the tips that I found most helpful for people to utilize and keep in mind to go in the exam, kick it directly in the chest to get the job done, and then going over 10 practice questions. And again, they will be different practice questions than the previous sessions. So don't worry about getting the same practice questions. And if you want any information related to those, send me an email at berda24@gmail.com, or click the link down below in the description, which is the view more under the title, and it'll take you directly to my calendar. And live attendance is not 100% required for those. As long as you register, you'll be sent the recording as well as the materials after the session. So I know a lot of times people are busy, they're not able to actually stay the entire session, so don't sweat it, because you'll be able to watch the recording at your own pace, as well as I do still offer individual tutoring sessions. So if you want to wrap and rock with me directly and understand either more content areas or better understand your process of breaking down the questions, individual tutoring is 100% possible. And if you want to register for individual tutoring, send me an email at berda24@gmail.com. Click the link down below in the description, as well as I'm bringing back the one-day course, because the one-day course has been the most successful thing that I've done. It has helped the most amount of people to go in the exam, kick it directly in the chest to get the job done, because it's one, the most amount of time that you can get with me, but also I can chuck a lot of information as well as a lot of questions into that session. So the next one-day course is going to be on December 3rd, and it's going to start at 11 a.m. Eastern time and go until they kick us out. Can't kick us out because I'm the host, but that session tends to be the longest one that I have. And I know it says that it's going to be 12 hours, but the last ones have been 13, 14 hours long. So again, buckle up, but you don't have to stay the entire time if you don't want to. The one-day course is the tips that I found most helpful for people to keep in mind as they can go in the exam, kick it directly in the chest to get the job done. Most common reasons why people fail, because what better way to learn what not to do than from the experiences of individuals that have gone in the exam and have made adaptations to their process as well. We're going to be going over different topics: subpoena versus court order, referral versus supervision, operant conditioning, the medications, the personality disorders, schizophrenia spectrum, bipolar 1 versus bipolar 2 disorders. And then we are going to be going over the acronym and the 6-step process that I recommend every single person to keep in mind as they're going into the exam, and then tying it all together with 25 practice questions. And if your exam is prior to December 3rd and you want to get the previously recorded version or any previously recorded sessions that I've done, that's 100% possible, and send me an email at berda24@gmail.com. But if you want to attend the live session, then send me an email at berda24@gmail.com, or click the link down below in the description. View more under the title. And again, live attendance is not 100% required the entire time, because I'll be sending out the recording as well as the materials the day after the session for you to watch it at your own leisure. As well as, for those that do not know, Audible has continued to partner with me on my YouTube videos and my podcast. So if you want to support me as well as support them, go to my Audible affiliate link at www.audibletrial.com/fill-in-the-gaps. Sign up for the 30-day free trial because that's the easiest way that you can support me and it costs you absolutely nothing. And for those that are like, man, what is Audible? Audible is an easy way to get information on the go. So if you're busy just like me, you still want to progress to become the best possible version of yourself, Audible is an easy way to do so. Or if you're not a auditory learner just like me and you're like, man, I can't sit down and read a book if I tried to, Audible is an easy way to get information like that as well. And again, if you want to rep and rock with me and support me as well as support them, go to my Audible affiliate link at www.audibletrial.com/fill-in-the-gaps. Sign up for the 30-day free trial. And if you're wondering what book that you should get with your 30-day free trial, there are a couple that I would recommend, and they are as follows: The Alchemist, The Archer, Traumatized, and You Owe You. Each of them have different lessons that you can get, not just to help you progress professionally, but personally become the best possible version of yourself. So again, if you want to support me, go to my Audible affiliate link at www.audibletrial.com/fill-in-the-gaps or click the link down below in the description. Click it, sign up for the 30-day free trial, get yourself a free book. I appreciate every single one of you that has already done that. And if you haven't already, hit the like button down below. It's the thumbs up button right next to the title. It helps me out more than you will ever know because it helps other amazing social workers just like you rep and rock with me as well as leave a comment down below about something that you're working on, if you've passed the exam or just something, because I read every single comment and it helps me continue going. But I know there are other people that interact within the comment section as well. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button down below, hit the bell notification next to it because it allows for you to know every single time that I upload a video. And there's going to be a free study group next week, so you don't want to miss that video because a lot of times people are like, what? I didn't even know that you uploaded a video. So that's just kind of a foreshadowing what is to come. So again, if you're not already done it, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification, as well as for those that did not know, I have a podcast. You can look it up at Fill in the Gaps on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and Spotify. And I appreciate every single one of you guys that are repping and rock with me and are still trying to progress to become the best possible versions of yourself. So I hope to see you in the Sunday study groups, the individual tutoring sessions, the one-day course, or any capacity, or even in the free study group that's going to be next week. But again, from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate every single one of you guys. And if that's all the information that you're looking for, or if you're like, all right, I just want to skip ahead, then it's going to be me repping and rocking with people or hearing from people that winning the exam kicked it directly in the chest to get the job done, as well as people that are kind of struggling to pass the exams as well. But for those that are curious, some things that have been going on in my mind, because a lot of times when I'm thinking about stuff, I want to share it with you guys because a lot of people are like, man, I find that helpful, or I've never thought about that before. So a lot of what I've been thinking about, because if you notice, like I'm not as active on YouTube lately, or I haven't been doing a lot of stuff lately because it's just I'm busy. I have a lot of stuff going on in my life. But a lot of what I always have to remind myself is that where I think that I should be at is way further ahead than where I probably should be. And what I mean by that, not because I don't think that I'm worthy of where I'm at, it's because I like to think 12 steps ahead of some of myself. So whenever I'm not there already, I'm beating myself up saying, man, you should already have done that, or man, that person's doing more than you, or that person's doing this, or you're doing that. But I always have to remind myself, where did you start? Where was your starting point? And what are the steps that you're doing right now that you would appreciate that you're doing if you were to think back way back then? And that's what's been on my mind, because a lot of times I'm repping and rocking with people, or people are telling me like, man, Phil, I'm beating myself up, or man, I'm not even really sure what I should be doing, or man, things aren't how I thought they would be at this point. But what I always have to remind myself and remind other people is, if you could talk to who you were once back then, right now, would that person even recognize you? Would that person even be like able to see where you're at? And that's where you have to give yourself credit. And where that comes from is the word commend. Because if you commend yourself or commend somebody else, you're identifying that somebody has made progress or that something has been done that is satisfactory. But in order to commend yourself, you must amend the things that you're thinking. You must amend the things that you're doing. You also must repair or identify what are some things that you aren't doing that you should be doing at this moment. Not to say should like you should be beating yourself up, but what are some things that you need to repair that you haven't repaired yet, but you just putting it to the side, but you know it's something you think about every single day? What is something that you're thinking about every single day that you're putting off because it's convenient? But the problem is, when you're doing something that's convenient, you're not oftentimes doing the things that are bringing you the most joy. You're not doing the things that are going to bring you the most results. You're not doing what you need to in order to become who you want to be. So again, you're looking where you want to go and what you want to accomplish, but you're missing the in-between point and the steps that need to be taken. But when you're doing the steps that need to be taken, you're resentful, you're angry, you're shameful, you're guilting yourself, but what you're missing is the beauty of the growth that you can get where you're at. So if you're like, man, Phil, I find it difficult to give myself credit. I find myself difficult to commend myself for anything. Like I do something good in my life and I'm ready to put it on to somebody else. I'm ready to just sidestep and be like, yup, not me. You see that other person, what they're doing? It doesn't matter what they're doing. It doesn't matter what they have. It matters what you possess and what you bring into this situation and what you can do for your situation, but the people around you. Most people, when you bring up somebody else, they don't even know who that person is. Or you're starting to tell other people why you aren't great, and they're confused and saying, what are you talking about? Like, I don't even know it. I think you're great for who you are. I think you're great because I know where you started and I know where you're at right now. But your problem is that you're looking at where somebody else is or where you think that you should be, but you're not giving yourself the identification or grace to get to the point that you need to. And I hear it all the time, man, Phil, I was doing this other program, I was reading that book, I was doing all these great things, and then I went in the test, and it was like I was fighting Tyson in his prime, and I'm knocked out. But the problem is, if you don't look at it from a curious lens and say, what are the things that I've done? What are the things that I did not do? And what was actually the result of what occurred? Because most times when they go in the test, all they think about is pass or fail. But the problem is, it's not the result that's the most important. And it is at some point. But if you're not doing a process that is consistent, and if you're not doing a process that resonates with who you are, it doesn't matter if you passed or failed. On the outside, it does, because you're like, okay, well, I have to take the test again. But the problem is, most times when people fail the test, they're trying to make a change in a way that they should not be making it. All they have to do is look at what are the facts within my situation, what are the things that I've done, what are the things that I did not do, and what do I need to focus on this time? Because most times people are more willing to focus on the areas that they feel vulnerable in, but they're also missing all of the areas that are kicking their butt as well. And that's where I get it all the time, man. Phil, can I show you that sheet that has my results? I'm like, what does that sheet mean to you? And they're like, what do you mean? I don't base how I help people on a sheet. I base how I help people on what your perspective is the sheet, but I also need to make sure that you're not going in trying to be a computer and robotically just be like, all right, I need to go with first and next every time, or best and most, or man, just read the last sentence, or man, I need to go down this path, or man, I need to find the most important thing in the question. There's not a single most important thing in the question. Everything in that question is important. And that's why I get frustrated every time when somebody's like, well, this other person told me that I should only read the last sentence, or man, that last person told me that, man, first, next, best, most. I need to be like, I need to worship first, next, best, most. But what you need to realize is if you are basing it on an actual situation in practice, you're not just talking to your client and saying, all right, tell me one word and I'm about to tell you a solution. No, take your cape off. Make sure that you're doing everything that you need. So that's why I've been reflecting on the word amend. Amend, if you take even the A part, it's mend. Mend means to repair something that is not whole, or repair something that is no longer operational or functional. It is broken in some way. So if your mentality or your strategies or your techniques need to be mended, don't run from those things, run towards those things. Because the things that you may not be doing, or the things that you may be pushing off, may be what you actually need to be focusing on. Or what you're not doing is what you should be doing. Or what are you needing to be doing is what you need to be doing. Because you need to represent yourself in this test. Not somebody else. Not what this one person said. Not what this other person said. What you think. Because you're the only person that can go in the test and pass the doggone thing. So in order for you to commend yourself, you must amend or mend what you have. In order to commend yourself, you must come mended to the situation. You must identify what are the things I'm not doing, what are the things I'm currently doing, and do those things match? Because if you're looking at what somebody else is doing, if you're looking at where you want to be, you got to identify, am I doing what I need to be doing today to lead me to that point? And if I'm not doing what I need to do today in order to get to that point, am I actually truly getting to that point? Or am I saying that I want to get to that point, but once that responsibility comes, I'm not ready for it because I've just been going through the motions versus actually trying to become what I need to be in that moment. So again, you find it difficult to give yourself credit. It starts today. It starts to identify what you're doing, not what you think that you should be doing. It starts with not what do you want to do, but what have you done? It's not what do you want to do, what are you doing? It's not what you think that you need, what do you actually need? Because a lot of us are looking for things that we don't actually need, but we don't realize that we don't actually need those things because we're just trying to template ourselves into a situation versus coming in and doing what we need to do in order to become who we want to be. That's why I always say, don't look at what somebody else is doing. You can learn from what the other person is doing, but you don't know what that person's doing in the dark. You don't know what that person's fighting in the dark. You don't know what that person's hiding, but you know what you're hiding. So you need to unpack what you're hiding and identify what are some things that I need to change that I'm afraid to change. What are some things that I need to do that I know are difficult, but if I do them right now and embrace the difficulty today, my life will be forever easier in the future because I put in the effort today. What do I need to do? What don't I want to do? Because another thing that I've been thinking about is when you practice without feedback, or when you practice in an environment that's not leading you to where you want to go, it is going to lead you to incorrectly apply the strategies and techniques because everybody is sweet or everybody is able to break down a question when it is an easier question. But when it comes to the actual exam, and there are more difficult questions, and you find yourself freezing up, you got to ask yourself, am I freezing up because I don't think I can do this, or am I freezing up because I'm not prepared? Because I know there are people out there that will give you easier questions, or that will tell you different strategies and shortcuts and techniques, but the problem is, you go into the test trying to do those things, and they don't work out, you're blaming yourself and not that person. You're blaming yourself versus the circumstances. You're blaming yourself versus the things and strategies and techniques that you've done. Because in order to mend something, you may have to make changes to make it more up to date and identify what in particular is going to help you become the best possible version of yourself. And that's why I've been thinking about that, is because, again, we're all super critical of ourselves, but the problem is if you're overly critical, it can lead to you not doing the things that you need to be doing. Because when you're doing something, you got to take yourself outside of it, because a lot of what you're doing isn't even for yourself. It's for other people to see what is possible with and for their situation. And that's why I always tell people, you have to be intentional and deliberate on how you do things, but you also need to be intentional and deliberate on how you actually think. Because if you're somebody that thinks or even overthinks, the problem is you are going to think of how you can do it. You're going to think about how you're not going to be able to do it. And guess what? You're just going to stay thinking and not doing. But the best thing that you can do is do, because in order for you to have experience, you must experience something at some capacity. So it's not the person that's just sitting there chilling, thinking all the time, or just chilling and thinking about all the things that can go right versus all the things that go wrong. It's the person that comes in and it's like, blah, I'm here to do it. Whether I succeed or don't succeed, I'm still succeeding because I'm going to proceed forward to the next step versus overthinking and staying immobilized within my moment. So if you failed the test before, or even if you've not gone in the test, you got to reality test yourself and say, am I testing what I know to be true? Or am I trying to impress myself in situations that I don't actually need to be in? Or am I listening to what other people are doing because I'm afraid to commit to saying this is who I am and what I actually need? And if that's the case, you have to let those things go, because those people aren't thinking about you. Those people aren't actually going to be doing things for you. You got to be doing things for yourself. You got to be doing and having a pure lens of where you're at. Because at that moment, in order for you to commend yourself, you must identify that what you have done is valuable at some capacity. So if you're just kind of going through the motions and never thinking what you're doing is great, of course you're never going to be able to give yourself credit or commend yourself. It's just you think this is what the expected thing is, but what you expect and what other people that aren't in the same positions that you are, they would view it as a lesson and blessing, but you're just viewing it as a box to check. So you got to keep yourself in check and say, man, what am I taking for granted? But what am I hiding from that could help me become the best possible version of myself? Because when you can lay everything about yourself on the line, or when you can actually identify who you are from an authentic lens and from that vulnerable lens of I don't need to hide, I can come out with everything I got, nothing can stop you besides yourself. Because if you're not willing to do what you need to be doing, or if you're telling yourself it's not going to be significant in some way, no one's going to be able to identify if it's significant because it doesn't exist. And you're the only person that can get this done. You're the only person that can do the things that you're doing or saying the things that you can do in the way that you do it, in the way that people would see it as significant. So don't let yourself stop yourself, but don't let your view of where you think that you should be stop you from doing the things that you know are necessary today. And that's important for a lot of people because a lot of people are gifted and talented, but not a lot of people are willing to put themselves on that line. Not a lot of people are willing to take themselves into a situation where it's not a guarantee, but what the only guarantee is that they're willing to give 100% on themselves regardless of the result. That's why I said previously, it's not about the result, it's about the process and what you can take from that experience on whether you're going to succeed or not in the future. So hopefully that was helpful for at least one person because again, it's heavy on my mind. It's heavy on my heart because again, I'm super critical of myself of like, man, you should be doing more. Man, the things that you're saying may not be helpful. And it's like, I got to just sidestep those things because that's who I once was, trying to stop myself from being who I should be in the future, just due to the fact that I don't think that it's going to end up being what it should be. But it's not up to me. It's up to y'all whether you want to rep and rock with this. It's up to y'all whether you find it helpful or not. So that's why I always tell people, don't let one thought, one situation, one person, even yourself, take you outside of what you know to be true. You just got to trust yourself that you have the experience that is going to be valuable for somebody else. And if it's not valuable to somebody, that doesn't mean it's not going to be valuable to anybody. So don't suppress yourself in order to impress people that you're never going to be able to impress at all. So even if that's yourself, so if you're always super critical and telling yourself what you're doing is not significant, you got to take yourself outside and say, this isn't for me. This is for the next generation. This is for the people around me. And this is for people that come from where I come from and tell them don't quit, because you would never tell a friend to stop. You would never tell a friend that you care about to give up on themselves. You'd never tell a friend that you actually want to see succeed just to give up because they're not significant. So you got to start treating yourself like you would a friend. You got to start looking out for yourself as if you were your own friend. Because if you were your own friend, you would not let them hide and let them suppress themselves. You would not let them oppress themselves. You would not let them degrade themselves. You would not let them prevent themselves to become the best possible version. You would actually help drag them to where they need to be. So you got to drag yourself to who you want to be and start making those amends, again, repairing and identifying what you need to upgrade and identifying what is broken. And it may not be something that's broken outside. It may be something that's broken inside, but something that's broken can always be repairable. But in order to repair something, you have to put effort out. You must identify that it's an issue in order to get yourself to that next level. So that's my push for you today. If you have something that you're running from, don't run from it anymore. If you have something that you're feeling shameful about, you don't have to tell everybody about it, but you have to let yourself off the hook. And if you're guilting yourself into doing something, asking yourself, why do I always feel that I have to force myself to do something? And if that's the case, just be like, all right, where's that coming from? So unpack that stuff so that way when you're in the test, you're not just having somebody that's writing a diss track about you that's playing in your head throughout the entire time. Because you can do this. You can put anything that you want to the test, but if you never put yourself out there, if you never put your thoughts into actual actions, you'll never actually get there. So that's why I'm always telling people, man, take the risk. Take an educated risk. Don't put yourself into a situation where it could actually harm you. But sometimes we need to go through those uncomfortable situations to show ourselves actually who we are. Because if you've never put yourself through a difficult situation, you'll never know what you're capable of. So that's my push. Identify what you need, put yourself into experiences and exposures as well as environments that are going to help you get there. But don't let one thought, one situation, one person, one program, one person, one video, or anything take you outside of what you know to be true. Because you can make the decision today to never go back there. You can make the decision today that is going to impact yourself for the rest of your life. Don't play small in order to make everyone else look big. Don't play big in an environment where everyone else is small. Start trying to upgrade yourself, but don't run from the difficult things. Embrace them, because once you start doing those things, you'll start getting lessons and blessings from those things. But it's oftentimes the most difficult situations, or it's the most uncomfortable situations that are going to make you comfortable and that are going to solidify who you are as an individual. And that's why I always tell people, it's not what you do that makes you who you are. It's who you are while doing it. Because again, you could think, man, I need to be doing all these different things. But if you're not being authentically you, or if you're sacrificing yourself to get there, don't let that be the case. And hopefully that was helpful for at least one person. If you're at this point, man, you rap and rock with me heavy. And I love every single one of you guys, honestly, because without you guys, there ain't me. And without you guys letting me express myself fully, I'm always just going to be stuck in my thoughts. So again, from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate every single one of you guys. And if you made it this far, just drop something in the comments that is positive or something that you're working on, please. Because I need you to 100% own where you want to go. Because if you don't have an expression of where you want to go, you can't be a part of a community. Because when you have other people that are rapping and rocking with you, it makes it easier. So I always say, From the bottom of my heart, I appreciate every single one of you guys. Take care, be safe. You want to wrap and rock with me in individual tutoring, the Sunday study groups, the one-day course, or the free study group next week, please send me an email at berda24@gmail.com. Click the links down below. I hope to see you guys in the future. For now, take care, be safe. Like I said, I love every single one of you guys. Don't let anything stop you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video. The rest of this video is, again, me talking to people that went in the exam, kicked it directly in the chest, that got the job done, as well as people that are feeling unmotivated. I'll see you guys in the future, and peace out, guys. How do you motivate yourself after missing the exam by 1 point?
Hey, Phil. Well, I'm really just trying to get back in there to motivate myself. I studied so hard and so long, and to go in, of course, I have test anxiety, but to go in and take the exam and having anxiety throughout the whole entire exam because you're not quite sure how you're doing on the exam, and pressing submit and seeing fail just kind of just took me overboard. But I can say the positive, I did take a positive out of it. When I got my score report and I saw that I missed 1 point, I was okay because I told myself that shows me that without the strategies that I worked helped me with helped me with the exam. Of course, I didn't pass, unfortunately, but for me to miss it by 4 points and take it and miss it by 1 point and to be that close, I felt like, hey, you can do this. Just try it again. But I'm just trying to get motivated. And recently, I just contacted candidate services, and I was just found out that I have to take my exam before the 4th of next month. So I was happy. Now I paid for the exam. Now I'm just waiting on my email from the board to tell me to register. So now I'm just like, oh my God, I might have to take this exam in like 2 weeks. I don't even know how to motivate myself. I want to study, but then I don't want to study. And I'm just like, I don't know. I'm just really just not motivated, honestly.
And before they told you that you had to take it in 2 weeks, were you feeling motivated?
Honestly, no. Well, since I missed it 1 point, I kind of just took a break because I work for the school. So of course I went on a whole Christmas 2 weeks break. So I kind of just took a break from the whole entire studying and just looking at material. Then I felt bad for not studying. Like, you've been off for 2 weeks, maybe you should have looked at material. But then I tell myself, but I did for my note for Thanksgiving break. So I'm just, it's a lot. I'll be hard on myself with studying. But I guess I'm just trying to get back motivated because it's a possibility that I would have to take this exam in like the next week or so.
And why do you want to pass it?
My To be licensed to work inside the hospital, what I've always wanted to do. But in order for me to work there, I have to be licensed. So
And what would that hospital job do for you?
I just love working with adults and helping people figure out, what's the next step in their lives that they need. So it's been my dream since undergrad and since grad school, and I've been trying to get there since grad school, and I graduated grad school in 2016. So I've been taking this exam literally since 2016.
And let's picture something real quick. If I was telling you that I was close to accomplishing my goal, I fell a little bit short, but I'm not really sure if I should do it again, and I'm kind of beating up on myself for not even wanting to do it, what would you say to me?
You should try it again.
But what if I was like, man, I don't even know if I can. It's kind of a hard task for me to do. I just don't know if I have it in me. How would I get myself motivated?
I guess I would say start slow, ease your way back into it.
So what would it look like for you to ease yourself back into it with 2 weeks to go?
I can do it. It's just really just sitting down and just being disciplined, honestly.
What if it's not a lack of discipline, it's a lack of, man, I don't want to feel this way again?
True.
Because you were close. You were one less X, Y, or Z in one way or the other. And you were in and this is kind of a joke, of course, so don't take it the wrong way, is you were in the first worst position to be in. Why?
Yeah.
Because if you were 1 point in the other direction, you're in the best possible position because you passed. But in your mind, you would rather have gotten blown out by a lot. And so that way you were kind of angry, but you're more angry at yourself and saying you didn't do what you needed to do for you to get to the other side. And that's not the case.
Yeah.
So, from everything that you said, one big thing that could probably take a lot of pressure off of yourself is not keeping track of how many you got right versus how many you got wrong in the actual exam, and knowing in your heart and soul that if I give everything that I got to this exam, I'm not going to be the answer key because I'm not that. And the only thing that dictates whether I pass or fail is the actual exam. No practice exam, no nothing like this, not the 2 weeks that I have to study anything. So, what do I want to do when I walk in 2 weeks? What I want to have said that I didn't study as much as I possibly could, or do I want to look myself in the face then and say that I did everything that I thought was right for me? I may not have to barrel down and double down as much as I needed to before, but I just need to freshen up, polish it up, and make it look as good as I need it to look at this moment.
True. I agree.
And that's where you got to forgive yourself for the previous exam and knowing that you were a little bit off, but you're not out of the ballpark. Like you're in a good position and that you can get where you need to be. You just have to keep building yourself up and getting the job done. And knowing that the 2 weeks that you took off was you recharging yourself, not running, but getting yourself ready for war. Because if you would have known that I have to take this by X amount of date, and you took 2 weeks off, you wouldn't be beating up on yourself. But since that time length is there, you're like, crap, I should have. And you can't should on yourself because you didn't know. And when you know better, you tend to do better. And now you know
Hmm.
you have the choice to do it or not do it.
Agree. So I told myself I was even having a prep talk with my sister. So she was telling me I should just, if you don't feel like studying today, then just study tomorrow. So I have an app on my phone. Maybe I'll look at a few questions from my app and see how they go.
And just once you get into that, not even understanding did I get it right versus did I get it wrong, but simply building yourself up and saying, what is my process? How do I need to polish it up? And how can I get myself excited to walk in? Because I'm so close to passing that I should be excited and wanting to get revenge on this exam because it's over this next exam.
True. I agree. I totally agree.
And if you need anything in the meantime, just let me know.
Okay. Thank you.
It is my pleasure. I'm testing on the 20th. I'm answering about half of the practice questions correctly. I know the questions for practice can be more difficult. How concerned should I be? Also, do you recommend taking the ASWB practice exam?
Hi. So you actually kind of touched on this with the last question. And I'm kind of in the same boat as that last person as well with kind of lack of motivation. Um, but yeah, I did really well on my LMSW exam about 3 years ago. I took it in December 2017. I'm getting ready to take the LCSW for the first time in a week and a half. So it's down to I have to pass this exam because for financial reasons, I was working at the hospital and then also at a nonprofit. And whenever COVID hit, I was no longer comfortable working at the hospital. And the income I make just off the nonprofit is not enough to sustain. And so I feel like I have to pass, but there's a lot of pressure. And the practice exams, I've been watching some of your videos. There's some other practice exams I've been, tests I've been finding, and I've been averaging maybe about 60% on the practice exams. So I don't know.
Do you know the percentage you have to get it right on the actual exam and still pass?
I know the score is between like 90 and 110, give or take a couple points. and it's 170 questions. 20 of them don't count. And so there's 150 questions, 19 different versions of the test.
So kind of just in a little bit more simpler terms, you can get 44 to 54 wrong. And if we narrow that down, it's about a 65 to 70%. So you being 60% of the questions correct isn't far from actually passing the real exam.
Okay.
And that's where I always tell people, do not get in that academic mindset. And what do I mean? Because when you're in grad school or even undergrad, you're fighting for that grade point average. You're fighting tooth and nail. You want to get as high as grade as you possibly can. And if you get a low percentage, you kind of are like mad. This is a professional level exam of where we simply need you to pass the exam. So it's not a percentage you're fighting for. You're not like going to hang that I got X amount of questions correct. It's I'm going to do what I need to do in the situation and I just need to pass. So don't focus on the percentage you're getting correct versus incorrect. Focus on how you're actually getting there.
That makes
Because
sense.
I'm a huge process person, because the only thing you can actually take into the exam with you, of course, your knowledge, but the process of breaking down the questions. But what a lot of times people want to do is they remember practice questions that they did, they remember common themes and try to apply it to the actual test questions, and then they get killed because they're not reading the details in the question. When it comes down to you answering questions incorrectly, it's what can I learn from me getting this incorrect versus correct? And if I even get it correct, how did I get myself to that position?
Gotcha.
And that's where it's difficult for a lot of people to be like, well, what do you mean 60% makes me jump like a cat that just got squirted with water? And it's like, but that's close to passing. And the only thing that can dictate whether you pass or fail is what?
How I do on the exam.
The actual exam, yes. So don't let any practice question or thought outside of the exam dictate what you need to do in the actual exam.
Gotcha. All right.
And
Thank
that's
you.
where you got to spin it in your head of it may not feel right, but the only thing that is going to make me feel right is whether I pass or fail. You can't hang your hat. When it comes to the ASWB practice exam, I tell people to take that for two reasons. One, is your process of breaking down the questions close or further away from where you thought you would be? So it's not how many did I get right? Did I pass? All right, I passed it. I feel great. Oh my gosh, I failed it. Panic mode. Because there are people that have walked into the practice exam, sliced it in half, took their foot off of the pedal, or had overconfidence inside of them and got murdered in the real exam. Or on the other side, they got killed by the practice exam and walked in the real exam and sliced it in half. Do not take it to see, am I ready or not ready? Because the only thing that dictates if you're ready or not ready is the actual exam. And the second reason why I recommend people to take the ASWB practice exam is, can you sit still for 4 hours? And if you can't, how can you get yourself to stay focused for 4 hours? Because 4 hours is a long time to simulate. And that is where a lot of times people just want to take it to say, am I ready versus not ready? But you should be looking, is my process strong? And do I feel confident with my process? Or do I feel the urge to second guess? Do I want to implement too many strategies? And what do I need to do to stay focused? And how can I process and develop a routine to walk into the exam and get it done?
Gotcha. Sounds good. Yeah, you're right. I don't care what score I get as long as I pass. I don't care if I pass by 1.
And that's the thing is, start viewing your practice like that is, okay, this could be a question I got wrong, but how did I get it wrong? Oh, was it something like me second guessing, adding to the question, not actually getting it? Or did it naturally just cut me in half? Okay, well, it cut me in half. So that's going to be one of the 44 to 54 that I can actually get wrong in the real exam. And that's okay. I need to give myself permission to get them incorrect now, because if I don't, I'm going to be beating up on myself during the real exam and I'm going to take myself out before I even finish.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Yep. And if you need anything, just let me know. But please, please, please walk into the exam, kick it right in the chest, and do not let it make you think things that you shouldn't, because you're more capable than you think.
Gotcha. Appreciate it.
It is my pleasure. Don't know where to start? need to study will be taking the test late March, early April.
Hi. Um, I'm just like confused on where to begin. I'm a MSW. My name is Daquana Rhodes. I'm sorry. I'm an MSW student at Savannah State, and we will be testing. We haven't gotten our test date yet. They're going to let us test before we graduate, like March, late March, early April. And I have heard so much about you, like in my undergrad, and I just don't know where to begin. I emailed you before and I'm ready to try live sessions, but I like to hear this because it motivates me. All the questions that the young ladies have shared and everything. So that helped a little, but it's like, okay, where do I start? I also been on chat and I see where people are stating, different questions and when I say questions, I'm sorry, I'm nervous. um it's like, do you read all the books or do you just try to memorize the DMS-5? And someone just put in there which helped and I just wrote it down. You don't need to know everything. It's all about knowing how to look at the questions and knowing how to answer it, like basically breaking it down. So I definitely wrote that down to help me in to try to focus and not be so like how I am now, nervous.
And I think the biggest thing that you have to give yourself is grace, because there is not one way to do this. And I know being in a position where you're like, I really want to pass this, and everybody is going to tell you what they think is helpful or what they have done. And the advice that you have is sound because it's not telling you what in particular of how to do it. But when you're in the exam, not jumping to an answer and trusting your abilities to be able to walk there and get it done is half the battle, because there isn't a particular study guide or there isn't a particular way to walk in and pass it on the first try. It's okay, what do I need to do to make myself feel comfortable and confident? And how can I honor my style of getting the thing done? So with you being like new to the process, just understanding like what do I know versus what don't I know? And if I don't know something, what is the best way for me to learn that information? So getting your learning style intact from there. But another thing you can do is not just learning it, but being able to recognize and apply it by breaking down questions.
Yes. And learning that learning style, um, and I also seen someone else ask that in the chat. How do you know your learning style? You know, like, I don't know. I feel like I'm audio, sometimes visual. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. So the easiest way to do this is to think back if I was to explain something to you. So for example, let's say I'm teaching you how to break down a question. Would the best way for you to learn is to just jump in and do it on your own? Would the best way be for me to explain it to you and then have you do it on your own? Or for you to watch me do it and explain it to you and then for you to do it on your own?
I will say, gracious, the last one. You explain it, show it, and then I jump in and do it on my own.
Okay. So then you might be like an auditory visual person as well as tactile. And what I mean by that, and you're like, Phil, that's all styles. How can I be all the styles? It's because the way that we learn is dynamic based on what we're doing. So, for example, if you were to close your eyes and I was to tell you what to do, you might be just an auditory. But if you have to listen to it and then watch me do it and then try it, that is where all the styles kind of blend together. But if you find yourself taking notes on what is being said as I'm telling you, that is where that tactile of you having to do it and feel it and do a chart, etc., comes into play. Does that make sense?
Very much so. And it's so crazy that you said that. When you said that, guess what I was doing? I was writing it down. I was writing it down. So yes. Okay.
And a lot of times what people do is they hear something that is foreign to them. They're like, "Oh my god, I don't know that." But when it's explained in a way that makes sense to them, they're like, "Oh yeah, I did know that." And way too many times we just don't know to call it a learning style. We just simply say, "All right, I need to learn this, I need to do this, and then I'm on my way." But at the end of the day, you kind of have to just sit in that moment and slow it down and take the emotion side out of it and get into that rational mindset of like, okay, what is the game plan for me? And when you are doing a game plan, you need to make sure that when you walk in, it's something that you would have wanted to do. And there's not a one way to prepare for the exam and pass. It's I'm going to give it my best shot. And if I fail, I'm not going to be mad. I'm not going to be angry at myself. I'm going to be angry at the process and make changes to my process to make it align more with what could be helpful for me.
Yes. Thank you. Yes.
And that's where just giving yourself that grace of like, I don't know something and get excited about it and say, I'm about to learn myself way better than I've ever thought about. So that way, when I do pass the exam, I can keep it into consideration of if I'm about to learn a new skill, I can now know that my learning style has to be this way and that you have to be open to that information as well. Does that make sense?
A whole lot of sense. And I appreciate you. I appreciate hearing the stories before me and also reading in the chat. That's amazing. I really appreciate everything.
It is my pleasure. And if you need anything, just reach out.
Yes, sir.
All right, perfect. Times I took the test, I was super confident. I felt the exam was easy. So failing within 5 points each time hurt bad. Now I'm confused and second guess myself.
Yes, I do.
How's it going? How's it going?
Hello, Phil. My name is Takara Bailey. I'm from Detroit, Michigan. I went to state, so go green. And I got on my Michigan State hat. I would put my camera on, but I'm not camera ready. So I'm gonna say go green, go white. But yes, I will say, yes, I took the test. The first time I took the test, I thought it was super easy. I breezed through that test within like an hour and a half, and I failed by 3 points. And I was so confused because I was like, what the hell? That time, all I did was use the Dawn Apgar book, and I did great on her test in the back of the book. And I think I took that test, I think in like 2018. And so I was kind of I bombed and I was mad. Then the second time, and this is funny because I just listened to one of your videos and you had said you can't compare yourself to other people because we don't all get the same test. Their process is their process, my process is mine. But at the second time I took the test, I was mad. So I didn't study at all. I just went and took the test and I got like maybe 15 or so wrong. But in my mind, I don't count that test because I'm like, I just went in just all mad. So then I took it again recently and I did TDC. I did a whole bunch of other stuff, paid for a whole bunch of other programs, and I failed by 5 points. Additionally, that the last time I took it was an interesting experience because when I got in there, when I took my test previous times, I was able to bring like snacks and things to eat. But this time, the lady was like, you can't bring a snack." So we had an exchange, which I had to take myself out of the exchange because I'm like, wait a minute, hold on, this is not what I'm here for. So I tried to regroup myself, go back and go in the test and take it. But it threw me off because I couldn't have my snack and I couldn't eat. And then the lady, she basically harassed me the entire time. Every time I would take a break, she was like, "Oh, you can't eat, you can't do this." So it made me upset. So, anyways, I filed a grievance, yada yada yada, and here we are today. So this time around, I didn't look at my TDC. They say you can use TDC until you pass, but I feel like I'm not really learning anything additional from that program. Then I paid for another program and I realized this person used questions from TDC and other places. So I'm like, I just wasted my money on that. So now I'm kind of just going back through the Don Apgar book. I was looking at some of your videos and just kind of looking at the test to see the areas that I didn't do so well in with the behavioral, I guess, health app. And the interesting thing for me on this app I'm finding is that I'm actually flourishing in the places that I failed on the actual test, and I'm bombing in the places that I did good. So now that's where the second guessing part of my question comes in, because I'm like, what the heck? I was good in this part, and now I'm not. So I guess that's where I am. I listened to a lot of people earlier, and you kind of hitting on some things too in regards to like praying, and I prayed and I still didn't pass. So now I'm mad at everybody. I'm mad at God. I'm mad at the test people. I'm mad at myself. But now I'm just like you said, I'm kind of like, I want to pass it and I have to pass it. Now I got a vendetta. So I'm gonna try again, but it is frustrating to keep going back and forth.
And I think the biggest thing that you have to do is stop running to the next thing. Stay with what you need to be knowing and run with it. Because what you just told me is I just failed, took a different program, failed, took a different program, did another thing, and then got yourself tripped up. And that's where a lot of times people find themselves in a situation where they're not really sure what they need to do, which puts you into a vulnerable situation. And then when you make a vulnerable decision, it's not based in rational thought process. It's more based on the emotional side of like, I need something to appease me and I can get the job done.
You are so right. You are so right. So, and I guess to additional to that, I felt like taking the other stuff was maybe it was something that I'm missing. You know, maybe it's something that I'm not getting. But as I'm realizing, like it for me, it was the fact of breaking down the question and really knowing, you know, how to answer the question or what the question is looking for. So now I think that's what I'm focusing on. Because I did want to say I did use the S verify and all that. That's actually what I basically used the second time around I took the test. I just used that the whole test through. Um, but now I'm trying to really dig deep into really looking at the question, asking the question a couple of times. Because me, I realized too, reading a lot, it starts to irritate me and aggravate me. Just sitting there, and then with COVID and all of this stuff, and I have to work from home, and I have to look at a computer all day. I feel like it burns my irises out. So now I'm just like you said, trying to figure that out.
And I think the biggest thing that you'd need to do is pick one thing. Like you said, I'm now starting to hone in what works for me. Let go of those previous attempts, knowing that you weren't doing exactly what you thought was best. You were going with what people told you that would be best for you. And you got to double down and take it like it's your absolute first time. And what I mean by that is, this is my first time taking this attempt that I'm about to take. So I have to have that fresh mindset of this is what I'm going to do and this is what I have to do, and not letting anything else taint the waters and convince you of anything else. You don't need another program. You don't need another situation. You don't need another person telling you exactly what you need to do, because you know what is best for you. You just have to double down. And I always tell people, expect things not to go how you want them to go, but don't let that take you out of what you know to be true. So when you were taking the exam and that lady was trying to get you off of your situation by being like, you can't do this, and of course it's easier said than done, but you could have been like, all right, if that's not what I'm supposed to do, I'm only here to do one thing, and that's to collect the sheet that said I passed, and then I'm out. And I think you caught yourself midway through and was like, man, this lady's trying to get me off my game. But knowing that when you know that things aren't going to go how you want them to, like even if the roof falls in, getting yourself under the desk, letting the debris stop, and then getting up and finishing your test and walking out and collecting the passing paper. And if they need to, sending it to you in the mail, because you did there to do one thing, which is pass the exam.
Amen to that. Yeah. So that's what I'm doing now. Like you said, just getting that I am a very passionate person, And when I realized I am also a spiritual person, so I'm like, this ain't nothing but the devil. Let me shake this hater off. But yeah, so I was really mad because I wanted to show her my paper and be like, when I left, but it didn't happen. So I'm like, okay, well, let me figure out, what is this really here teaching me? What do I need to do? Like you said, and I need to be focused and I need to be disciplined. So that's what I'm gonna do. And I definitely am appreciating your videos a little bit more. I had a gripe because I'm all MSU, no U of M stuff over here. But I'm like, he did it and he doing what I need. He's where I need to get. So I'm like, let me just go ahead and tuck my tail and keep it moving.
And I think that's where you just got to get yourself going and knowing it didn't go how I wanted to. And it's okay. I got to let those negative emotions out because negativity never gained anything. In the short term, it gains you a lot. But we're playing the long game here. And the more positive thoughts and positive vibes you have in your situation, the more positive results you'll have long term. It may not be in the short term and it may not feel good, but we're not trying to have you have short-term gratification or instant gratification. We're trying to have you gratified for the rest of your life and feeling grateful to even be in your situation and have breath in your life.
Yes, yes, yes. So, yep. Thank you.
It is my pleasure to be able to help.